The picture in slide 060 literally shows a path going east to west down a valley in Colorado. And this is really a good representation of the path here that's marked off by aspects of the toy physics geometry and relation space. It marks off a path to a landscape shift in perception about physicality. And I've given here 5 aspects that mark off the path, in addition to the ones that we've talked about so far in terms of geometry. First, toy physics describes a space of physical relations, participants joined in collective behavior. And when we can put together in our minds simultaneously the perception of parts joined in composition with a parallel perception of participants joined in collective behavior, then we will have made a good first step down that path, because every composition of material parts is also a set of participants in collective behavior. Number 2 is inner depth. Within every material participant, from a single atom all the way to an individual person, there is inner depth. Within an atom, there's a cauldron of inner behavior. Within a person, there's a deep behavior of consciousness. There's a common center. This is a web. So toy physics described a web where every material atom is like a radial element of the web, and they all join at a common center. Number 4, there is energy flow that is induced by primal expansion, and this expansion coincides and agrees with the measure of expansion in our universe by the Hubble telescope measurements. From this expansion, there's a kind of, it's a little bit cheesy, but I like to call it a solar wind from within. Primal expansion pulls in substance that is like the fields or flux that we see in physics, and it flows into the atom and then out in all sensory spatial directions. And that serves as a carrier to light and to other behavior, collective behavior in the web. And 5th, each atom has its portion of the web that reaches out into the web portions of other atoms and enables participation in collective behavior. Flow from primal expansion feeds web growth, the growth of the web, and it powers all participation in collective web behavior, and also powers motion of the atom. And there's a very neat way in which relativistic behavior plays in to that allocation of energy, the use of energy within an atom. Slide 065 is a personal testimony to inner depth. During this work, inspiration and insight have just bubbled up at key times from silent inner participation. And that is, I have some bullet points here, is number 1, it's conditioned by a passionate academic and industrial immersion in heartfelt work. I've been so fortunate to be able to explore the use of applied mathematics within both academic theoretical context and then followed by a industrial context that was hands-on in industrial production. Number 2, it's also conditioned, this experience is conditioned by a practice of breathing meditation. It's not sitting meditation. And if you know about meditation, you know what that is. You can look into it if you don't know about meditation. Number 3, insights often bubble up from the silent and deep edge of sleep. My experience has been that thoughts come up during sleep and during the edge when you're going into sleep, or in those moments at night when you're coming out of deep sleep and going back in. There can be valuable moments of clarity in those edges of sleep. And the important thing to do, it's very useful to capture those in some way, get up and record them. It's very easy to make recordings with an iPhone. Voice recordings is quick. Make a quick recording and go back to sleep. And those insights have played a really tremendous role in this work. Number 4, I just want to mention again the vivid running dreams in 2004, with the great-grandfather-like participant, Graypaw. He's a dream figure, but he's the participant. And from that vivid set of dreams came the 4 guiding questions to this work. That was in the summer of 2004. And another specific dream that has been mentioned is the soccer ball dream in 2011, which answered a nagging question for me. I originally thought in terms of parts and composition and thought, how could it possibly be that there is something in common to separate atoms? But that dream showed me that there can be a common participant. That dream showed the facets of a soccer ball, each facet having a hollow channel that went down to a center region. So behavior in the center would be included in the behavior of each atom. So that was a really important insight, and that came in a dream. Now I want to emphasize further that I've heard stories of lucid dreaming where you realize you're dreaming and you control the dream. This is not about that. That isn't the experience. The experience is that near the edge of dreams, you can have clarity of insight that, if you're not careful, will just vanish when you're awake. So that clarity, it takes a meditative type approach to have the awareness when that happens, that it has happened, and to bring yourself out of the sleep area and capture what you have discovered or what has come up from within during that episode. The 2 specific dreams of the running dreams with Graypaw and the soccer ball dream are really exceptions. Those were actual dreams. It wasn't a feeling that I controlled them, but they were lucid dreams that just told a story, and it lasted a good while. The running dreams went over 4 sessions or more. I can't remember exactly how many right now, but it was multiple sessions of running dreams in which Graypaw interacted with me to have me ask those 4 guiding questions. What kind of place is this? What am I making of what the great minds of science have said? What am I making of what the great minds of spirit have said? And has anyone seen a single thing? I actually recorded after each dream. I took back then a reel-to-reel little cassette recorder and recorded best I could what had taken place in the dream. And so I was able then to access those afterwards, just for pleasure and also to remind myself what was said. Picture 070 depicts an exciting possibility. And I think it's possible to have a physicality companion for the Judeo-Christian studies. It may seem sacrilegious to some to put a book of physics by the book of the Holy Bible. Most people think that physics doesn't conflict with the Bible, but basically has nothing to do with it. What's depicted here is not an existing book. There's no claim here that the toy physics book accomplishes this purpose. It doesn't. But it does provide a good starting point for exploring the possibility. As it says to the right in this slide, a broadly understandable story of physical depth would give needed modern support to spiritual teachings. And that spiritual depth basis would be the validated behavior of modern experimental physics. But if we look at that little made-up book there, labeled physics at the top, it's a depiction of what can possibly emerge from our treasure of validated measurement, prediction, and controlled language. If we look at that book and look at the words of it, under physics we have translated and interpreted. That's what toy physics has done for a very simplistic model, a toy universe that behaves like ours. So translated and interpreted, translated from the language of measurement and prediction, and interpreted in terms of our need, the inherent need for alignment with sensation, perception, and choice about this universe we're in. The next below those words are evidence of profound inner depth. That's really the essence of this work. Rather than have this out there space-time, an equivalent way to look is in here profound inner depth. That's what toy physics gives a guide to investigate. Then finally, at the bottom of that made-up book, the words physicality of self, other, and belonging. That's what people want to know. That's what children, young people yearn for, is an understanding or a solid feeling of who am I? What's the nature of this place? How do I relate to other things, other people? That's what spiritual story is supposed to give. A translated and interpreted story of physics in this way would go a long way in helping to make the teachings of the Holy Bible accessible and credible to young people in this culture where physics and materialistic story plays such a dominant role in their education and upbringing. In slide 75, I recommend the readings and teachings of Eckhart Tolle. He has audiobooks and also written books. These two shown on the screen, The Power of Now and New Earth. He is really a masterful person in his practical teachings about our human ability to experience deep inner spiritual participation by practicing silent awareness in the present moment, the now. The toy physics work gives us reason to believe that experimental physics offers profound evidence of the physical reality of that participation in the inner depth beneath the material surface of sensory experience. There's a practical side to accessing the inner depth in silence. Tolle tells of what many people have experienced is that by contacting the inner silence, there's an awareness, there's things that bubble up, intuition and insight bubble up from participation that happens on the inside. It's mysterious and it's wonderful. And Eckhart Tolle has really just a great set of books that are highly recommended. As an additional note, it's useful to recognize that inner depth, or God being within you, or the Spirit within you, is just a common theme in all spiritual teachings. And although you will find that some people are upset by Tolle's work because he tends to paraphrase central ideas in the Bible rather than quoting scripture and following the detailed beliefs that are expressed by modern preachers of the Bible, although that's true that people are upset, his work can really be helpful for bringing the central teachings of the Bible to life, to practical use. Thank you for your attention in these videos. This is the last of the 6 video overview videos included in this USB package I'm sending out with the Toy Physics book. For more information or for discussion or whatever, you can contact me by text message or telephone call. You see my name and number there on the screen. Bruce Moore, 225-223-0671. Also, there's a website under development. It's currently parked. This is June 2020 at the time of this recording. And right now it has very little content, but it'll be the next thing of focus after finishing this USB package and sending the book out. This material is under copyright, and you're not to use it for commercial gain, of course, but feel free to send the book or these videos to people who you think might be interested, or have people contact me if they are interested, because the purpose of this work is to get it out there and shared. I think it's important that we do provide a better source of stories for our great-grandchildren, for the coming generations. And that's really the intent of this work. So if you know people who are interested in that cause, they're concerned about our children, our grandchildren, and have an interest in mathematics and physics, please do share this with them. Thank you.